Welcome back, everybody. It's been about a week. I want to let you know what I'm working on. The future of what I'm planning on doing is a presentation that I put together. And this is about the future of my creative work and where I'm planning on going. So, all of January, I spent most of my time working on getting a video out every day, trying to. I made it to day 23, ended up getting sick. I think I was pushing myself quite hard. On day 1, I talked about the ministry and the business, and I'll get more into that, where that's headed. Had the lost momentum. I was spending a lot of time watching the numbers, and I want to talk a little bit about the numbers here. So as of today, I believe, I haven't actually looked at the numbers today, as of yesterday, I had 101 subscribers. I had 119 total subscribers, and then I had 18 lost. The algorithm's actually pretty good. It's getting it right about 85% of the time. If you're seeing this, you're interested in the same things that I am, probably, and you find some value in what I'm saying. Attract the best and repel the rest. That's the whole idea. So, but now with that, with looking at those numbers, trying to do a video, pretty consistently, the stress and the cost of that is pretty high, and what am I trying to do? What exactly am I trying to do? And so that is kind of a big question that I have. And so I need to pray about this. I need to think about this deeply. I need to count the cost. If any one of you lack wisdom, you should pray to God, who will give it to you, because God gives generously and graciously to all. Wisdom. I'm praying for wisdom, trying to figure out where to go. So at the beginning, I talked about doing a seasonal digest and a community, and that was kind of the idea behind my business idea and my ministry idea. So I want to talk about that idea of the seasonal digest. I love to write. I love to come up with stuff. I think trying to commit to something that I have to put out every 3 months it may add too much stress to what I'm doing. So I'm trying to count the cost. Am I going to get the return on investment, of my time, my most precious resource available to me? What can I spend my time doing that's going to give me the most return for the time that I spend? And not just the most return for me, but the most return for you. What I'm thinking is that the opportunity cost is just too high. I'm committing to, and I've been doing this for months now, but I'm committing to that 3 hours per day until I can figure out a way maybe to make this a full-time gig, of course. But choosing to do one thing means that I'm automatically choosing not to do another thing. I have to choose wisely, and I have to really think about this. Let's talk about YouTube a little bit. When I do it right, I enjoy the YouTube. I enjoy making the content. I enjoy making the videos. When I'm not focused on trying to make a job out of it, when I'm not focused on trying to optimize everything for maximum views and trying to get as many subscribers as I can, when I'm creating content about things that I'm interested in things that are important to me, and things that might be edifying to you, that's when I kind of get into the flow state, and this becomes a lot of fun. And then also trying to make this, consistently 1% better every upload. Then I can justify my use of time. The opportunity cost is low enough where I feel like, yeah, this is great. I can do this. I can invest my time into this. The YouTube algorithm is probably the best way of finding the people who are interested in the same things that I am interested in, who share potentially my worldview, or at least heading in the same direction as my worldview? Let's think about that a bit. So who is this channel for? I think this channel is for people like me, right? You're lifelong learners. That's your mindset. You're seeking the truth in some way. You're seeking the truth in these aspects, right? How our brain works. You like thinking about thinking. You like metacognition. You like cognitive psychology. You like memory. You like, focus, how our brain focuses on things. You like the idea of critical thinking. And then all of that wrapped around the worldview of Christianity. You care about the kingdom of God and his righteousness, seeking first his kingdom and his righteousness. But you care about walking by the Spirit. What does that mean? What does this mean for me? And then ultimately being conformed to the image of Christ. Then ultimately, why? Why? All of that brings us to helping and serving others. That's key to what this channel is all about. That's my focus, right? So the community is a huge part. You all are a huge part of why I'm interested in doing this. If I can serve, then the return on my investment is massive. And so then I'm willing to spend my time. I'm willing to spend my energy if it's producing results. So let's talk about the community. The community, what does the community look like? Like-minded folks, you and I. Attract the best, repel the rest, right? Like-minded folks who are interested in the same things that I am interested in. We're oriented towards action. And each of us has unique gifts and talents, and that's huge. Autonomy is huge because you're not me, I'm not you. We are different. We share the human condition, but we have our own unique gifts. We have our own unique talents. Don't get distracted by what other people think that your most important thing should be. I don't want to distract you. First of all, I can't allow myself to be distracted. I have to decide based on my gifts and my talents, what's the best use of my time? What's the best use of my energy? And you have to do the same thing. We can work together, right? We can help one another in certain contexts and we can grow together. A big thing that I want to focus on is embracing challenges and the best way to embrace challenges and grow. Now, I had a conversation. I was talking to a buddy of mine. It reminded me of gamification stuff. I had read gamification books, 10 years ago. One of the books I read was Yu-Kai Chow's book, Actionable Gamification. I got into it like deep, right? As I do with most things. We had that conversation and it brought that to the forefront of my memory. And I thought, man, what if the community was gamified? Now, when I say that, people might think, oh, well, you're not talking about serious stuff, you're talking about games. No. Let me explain. My mother, just this last Saturday, she turned 85 years old. She's living with us now. I've mentioned in one of my other videos. She has the beginnings of dementia, and it's progressing. She turned 85, and but she used to say to me, if I was working on something, working on whatever, a chore or whatever it was, she would say, make a game out of it. Whether she knew it or not, she was actually talking about gamification before gamification was a term. And she got that from her mom. She said, well, my mom always used to say, make a game out of it. And I want to talk about kind of the greatness of games. With games, and I'm not talking about gamification here, I'm talking about actual games. With games, we get to escape the real world. We get to be the hero. We get to have the autonomy of picking how we level up, how we test our limits. The game has constraints, and everything. We have the ability to expand our limits. We're seeking adventures. That's why games can be so addictive, right? It's because, we can get away from the stresses of the real world. One of the things that I really appreciate about Jordan Peterson is he talks a lot about stepping out of our comfort zone and then going on the adventure of our life. There's this void for adventure. And so we fill that with all different kinds of things. Could be alcohol, drugs, whatever, sex, could be anything. And I appreciate him speaking about that because I find it very true in my own life. Why I'm doing this creative work is because I think it could be something big. It's kind of a step in my own adventure, right? I'm trying to aim at some kind of adventure. With games, things are safe, right? There are constraints. It's not real life. You don't have to worry about dying, for real. But in real life, there are real concerns, real worries. One of my devotions just the other morning was about fear. There is unhealthy fear and there's healthy fear. And the premise was what we fear or who we fear determines if it's healthy or unhealthy. The big idea is that if we are fearing people and we're fearing things like, cancel culture, let's just say. If we're fearing people and we're not fearing God, it's going to lead us into a bad place. But if we are fearing God and know our place, know our relation to God, the creator and sustainer of all that is seen and unseen, then our fear is in the right place. There's a reverence, there's an awe. If we have a reverence and an awe for people, then we let them determine what is right and what is not right for my life. Instead of saying, what does God say is right and not right for my life? It's all about putting your fear in the right place, having the right perspective. Our imaginations are super powerful. We can imagine all kinds of bad things that never happen. I'm no expert on how dopamine works, but the way that I understand it is that when we have something happen to us that is exciting, is amazing, we get the dopamine is released and it makes us feel great, it makes us feel wonderful. Now, that's not always a good thing because you could be feeling great and wonderful about things that are not good for you in the long term. Let's talk about drugs, for instance. From what I understand, I've never taken cocaine, but from what I understand, you take cocaine, you get so much happening in your body. The dopamine spikes are, incredible and crazy, but yet that leads to a very, very unhealthy lifestyle. And so this episodic future thinking is where we can imagine a future, and then where there is this anticipation, right? Dopamine is also released when we anticipate things. I can focus on these great things and still have the benefit of, releasing the dopamine, working with the way that my body works, working with the way that my brain works in a way that's healthy and productive and powerful. In games, by their very nature, they're finite things. You can have an open world game, ultimately there are limits, there has to be. There are constraints to memory, there are constraints to computer processing power. In games, they try to give you the illusion of choice. If we are given too many options, then it can destroy a narrative. Now, in the real world, we also have constraints. We also have limitations. And then we also have limiting beliefs about ourselves, what we can and can't do, what we think we can and can't do. But we have the opportunity to use our imaginations to push the limits. With games, there is safety. You can't really get yourself into too much trouble. With reality, you can get yourself into trouble. With games, we have this challenge mindset. We embrace the challenges around us. We not only embrace the challenges, we go seeking. We actively seek challenges. We actively seek to grow our characters so that we can take on the big boss. In the real world where, most of us live, hopefully, we have a tendency to have the threat mindset, where risk, danger, harm, the fear of loss, these all are in the forefronts of our mind. We are kind of programmed to avoid pain and pursue pleasure. We can choose how to see the world. When we have a challenge mindset, we can adapt to change more effectively. We can recognize the resources before us, and then we can use those resources better. We have a better response to stress. When we have a challenge mindset, we can actually allow ourselves to be calmer and in a state of rest. Our brains think better. Now, so I've been game mastering in some way, shape, or form since I've been about 10 years old. And I started creating adventures for my classmates, and then that continued. Actually, I would do this as a young kid when we were throwing down wood at my dad's place. We'd throw down wood and then have to stack it in the basement. That was a chore we had to do. And there was usually 2 or 3 of us working on it. Me and my brother and my sister. And I used to always say, try to make it fun. And I'd say, what if? Imagine this. What if this? My stepbrother, he would be like, I'd start off and I'd be like, what if? He'd be like, come on, man, not again. But I think really he enjoyed it, but it was a little childish, right? And he was a little older than us, but it made it fun. That was one of my talents and gifts at that time, even as a young kid. Now, I've been a programmer for over 20 years, and in programming, the client's not sure what they want until they see it. I'm not sure what this is actually going to look like in the context of a community. What does this gamification look like that I'm going to try to produce? I don't know yet. I have some ideas, groups working together where you have, some people that are at high levels that can be mentoring, a majority of people in the group, and small groups, probably like around 7 people, give or take a couple, where the majority, maybe you just have one mentor, maybe you have 4 that are kind of at, maybe I'll just say average level, but a mid-range level. And then maybe you have 2 that are at a lower level, or I don't know yet. I don't know what that looks like. What if you met once a week? What if you met once a week and said, okay, this is my goal for this week? Kind of using the goal setting to now stuff. This is my big picture stuff. And, this is my someday. This is my 10-year. This is my 5-year. This is my 1 year. And then this is my monthly, this is my weekly, and this is today. But maybe you would share with the group, this is my goal for this week, and I don't know how to do this. I'm struggling with this. Somebody that has been through that would then be able to say, well, have you considered this? Have you tried this? Or what do you think about this idea? And so it would be a way for a group of people to help each other out. Now, that's just one aspect. I want to lean into gamification. Now, this is a quote. I don't have any idea how to actually say this gentleman's name. But this is probably my favorite definition of gamification. the use of concepts and elements that make games engaging and enjoyable in other areas of work or life in general. There are frameworks out there. There are people who have done stuff like this. One is Super Better. There are lots of others. And there are lots of frameworks out there that kind of talk about gamification. And I've got a couple of them on here. This Octalysis is the Octalysis framework by Yukai Chow. This gentleman talks about the major motivations, right? Epic meaning, accomplishment, empowerment, ownership, social influence, scarcity, unpredictability, and avoidance. And around the outside of this, you have all the game mechanics that are associated to these different motivations that drive us. So I want to see if I can implement something, tools that we can use along with our Zettelkasten to help us focus on the challenge mindset, to help us focus on some of these things and get us moving. And that means keeping track of things. We'll talk about that in a minute. But then also the cooperative gameplay, the adventuring together, like I've already kind of talked about with the groups. And then not comparing yourself with others, but comparing yourself to your past self. Am I growing? Am I growing? Have I increased 1% more than I was, right? So I'm trying to develop all of this stuff, and I've been thinking about it a lot. It's been kind of consuming my brain, which I think is a good thing. But I want to see what I can do. I don't know what I can do yet. Now, as a computer programmer, I focus on, it's always about technology, right? And I don't think this has to be. And I don't think it necessarily should be. So, but we'll see. We'll see, what tools we can use that are technology and what tools we can use that are analog. We'll see. With this system, we need to kind of use that EFT, right? And we need to envision a future where we see ourselves as successful. What does a successful player look like? What habits does a successful player have? And what mindset does a successful player have? Kind of the idea would be to randomly sort these groups, and then maybe every week or every month, probably every month, because then you'd have 4 meetings with your group, and you'd be put into another group where then you'd have 4 more meetings, but you'd never have the same people in the same group 2 months in a row. You'll meet new people, you'll learn from different people, and you'll always have opportunity to then get new perspectives on things. And then eventually you'll be shuffled around to people that you've been in a group with before. But envisioning success, the idea is that you'll have at least one person that has been successful at something. And you'll be able to learn from that person. Being able to record progress is huge because feedback loops are big. If I have a goal, if I don't reach my goal, then it's a feedback loop, right? So why didn't I? What stood in my way? What was the challenges that I struggled with? And then if I'm growing, oh, that's awesome. I want to do more of that. And so the feedback loops help with that. And so I want to build in feedback loops to this system in some way. I've talked about this a bit, but learning from and teaching others, this gets back to the whole idea of having groups with people with different levels where we can share what we know, what works, what doesn't work. And then also people are better at different things, right? And so I can learn from them things that I need to know that I might not like and might not want to be focused on, but that are necessary for my growth. And so I can learn from them. Life and games, they're so much funner when we're winning. When we can learn from those who have already won in certain contexts, that's awesome, because then we can apply the things that they have learned and we can win, right? So, and then I want to also make it possible for people who are creative and want to do some of this to create their own adventures for their group. Maybe as you grow in experience. And the way that I see that happening is it's not necessarily, we have blind spots in our own lives. And we might think we are better qualified to handle things than we actually are. And we might think that we are actually worse at handling things than we actually are. So I think a good part of that feedback loop is actually letting others kind of peer review you in a way that maybe even could be anonymous, but that maybe you have these attributes, these talents, and you have kind of, we do this at work, right, with our reviews, where we will have a self review and we maybe put a rating on things, and then we'll have our coworkers put levels on things as well, and then that gets put into the review process, and then you get a better idea of, first of all, how you see yourself, and then how others see you. And that can be helpful, if we have limiting beliefs, but yet the people around us they might see us as amazing, or if we what is that Dunning-Kruger, I don't even know what it's called. If I see myself as better than I actually am, it's going to help me to know that, right? Because I might be thinking I'm all that, and I might have a rude awakening, right? And I'd rather do that around a group of people that are super interested in my success and grow, right? So what I want to do then is to have the ability for people who have gained a lot of experience and who are kind of rated high, that they can then create quests and adventures for their team, or something. All of this is a bit amorphous, right? And it's not concrete by any means yet. So my plan is to take, I'll talk about my plan in a minute, but the main thing is to understand that we're not alone, and the struggles that you have are the same struggles that I have. We have the human condition, and if we share the desire to grow, then awesome. Then that already gets us on a team together. I think the YouTube algorithm is amazing. It connects people of like minds, around an idea, around concepts. It draws in the people that are interested in the same things that I am. It has the potential to have huge return on investment. My time isn't wasted then. I'm attracting the best. You're the best. I'm attracting the best, and I'm repelling the rest, right? And the key is then, can I use this tool and focus on my most important thing at the same time? Is it a distraction, or can I use it? And I think I can use it. And, we will see. We will see what happens. I think it's a powerful tool. Now, this isn't necessarily the way I want to do quests or adventures, but I have one for you. In the description, I'm going to put a link to Jane McGonigal's TED Talk that she did over 10 years ago. It's called "This Game Can Give You 10 Extra Years of Life." What I would like you to do is click on the link, start a source card, and watch the video, take observation notes, and then out of those observation notes, promote at least one thing, the thing that stands out to you most. Promote one thing to a main card, and then share that information in the comments. Okay? This is the first quest I'm sending you on, and we'll see where it goes. Now, I haven't actually taken notes on this yet. I watched this. Now, I'm going to rewatch it, and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'll put mine and pin it to the top so you can kind of see what I did. Now, I'll probably make more than one main note, but you'll get the idea. So the upcoming weeks and months, I'm going to be focused probably about 80% of my time kind of developing what I think the community could look like, what I think the platform could look like, what I think the tools might look like. And I'm going to be spending all my time focused on that. I'm also going to be doing lots of learning because I'm already reading. I'm going back through and I'm reading Actionable Gamification again. I've got 3 other books on gamification stuff that I'm reading. I'm also reading on psychology and cognition and growth, all that stuff. I've got so much material that I'm consuming right now, and I'm going to continue to do that. Now, I probably, when I go to create videos, I'm going to be talking about some of those things that I'm learning. And I only want to commit to probably 1 video a week right now. That'll give me time to absorb, create the script, create the content, create what I want to go over, probably do a presentation like I have here, and then see, am I making sense of all this? Is all this coming together, and can I put it forth in a way that you can understand it? Along with the community and the platform and the tools, I'm going to focus on, what does the structure and the rules look like of the game? What kind of limitations are there? What kind of constraints should I put on there? And then, will that be fun? We won't know if it'll be fun until we start doing it. And when I say fun, we're not playing a game. We're not playing a game to have fun. It's the adventure of life, right? And that's what I want to focus on. And then, along with those videos that I do once a week, maybe I'll have more adventures, that kind of lead into where I'm heading. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So if this resonates with you, like, subscribe, hit the bell, keep seeking God's face, and God bless.